Welcome back to Cocktails and Classics. This week we watched Halloween, the 1978 film by John Carpenter. And this week I have myself, your host, Dylan, Cameron, Zach,
Hi.
and Ben.
And the ghost of Michael Myers.
I will take us right into the cocktail. This week, in honor... so how we got here.
Why is this drink... Hold on. Why did we have this drink?
So,
legit question.
from a food
I mean,
and
I'm not
wine...
mad about it, but I am curious.
From a food and wine article I was reading, they said drink like your Halloween alter ego, and so they have on here between the colorless William Shatner mask and the name that gets confused with the Canadian comedian Mike Myers.
Oh no.
The murderer in this film
here.
should be a Canadian, so that's why we're at the Maple-Bourbon Smash, a maple syrup old-fashioned spin-off.
That's generous. I mean, I like this, but I wouldn't compare it to an old-fashioned in any
I was just,
light.
It's got too much stuff
I saw it.
Yeah.
I saw it. Zach has that maple syrup bourbon boner.
Yeah,
So
no, I
we
love
gotta
it.
go for it.
It's just I wouldn't call it an
Yeah.
old fashioned, but it is delicious.
Yeah. It's really good.
It's very
the,
far from an old
yeah.
fashioned, I will say. The ingredients for this one, you're gonna need some maple syrup, some orange juice, lemon juice, some Angostura bitters, and some bourbon, and then some seltzer or soda water. I like it. It's a lot
Yeah.
like the other maple syrup and bourbon drinks we've had, with a little twist.
I think
Some
it's a little
orange.
lighter
An orange
than the
twist?
previous ones.
Yeah, with the seltzer too, it you get a
Yeah.
little fizz.
So
Yeah.
this weekend I got a bourbon that is aged. The last aging process in it, it's aged in maple syrup barrels, and it's also 112 proof. So I put that in this to give it a go, and I will say it actually is like, surprisingly, it doesn't taste like I'm drinking 56% alcohol, which I consider a win. So I really like this one. This is good. I think the flavors blended well with the whiskey I used in particular. And like I said, it's actually pretty light with the addition of the spritz.
Yeah, I was a little worried when the orange juice came in. I was like, is it gonna just completely overpower this? But it
Not at all.
doesn't. You kind of taste it in there, but it kind of complements the bourbon a little bit. So I like it. It's well mixed.
And you don't have to do the orange if you don't want to. I didn't smash it in because I didn't have an orange laying around. I did put in one light dash of orange bitters, which maybe helped that, but that was the only modification I made.
I think if there's one thing we've learned in a little over 6 months of Cocktails and Classics, bourbon and maple syrup. There's your answer.
Good combo.
There's
That's
your
the best
answer to
combo.
life's questions.
I mean,
What's the
bourbon is
meaning-
kind of like
what's the
aged
meaning
in,
of
like,
life?
a molasses type thing.
Bourbon and maple syrup.
That's
There you
kind of
go.
a comparison. It's often made as like a molasses flavor. So that seems to go pretty well with syrup.
Yeah, and I think the bourbon barrels have to be charred, I believe. So then that you kind of get that smoky-esque charred.
Also,
flavor
it has
in
to
bourbon.
legally it has to be from Bourbon, Kentucky, in order to be called
Kentucky.
bourbon. I'm just kidding. I'm making fun of
That's not
bougie
how
French
that works.
stuff. Yeah, no, I'm just kidding. Anyone can make bourbon. I'm just making fun of bougie French wines, liquors, that kind of stuff.
Yes.
like a BDX.
Like a Bordeaux or a Champagne or whatever.
A Chantilly.
I like my liquors accessible.
Yes. Just like Pop-Off vodka, you can get that in everywhere.
Okay, let me revise my previous statement. I will never advocate for Pop-Off, the Sailor Man, because, that shit gross.
Toot toot.
If you make a maple bourbon smash, send us a picture on Instagram or post it and tag us at Cocktails and Classics Pod, or use the hashtag Cocktails and Classics. We'd love to see what you make and hear your thoughts on how it turns out. And if you haven't seen the movie, we are going to talk about it. We're going to spoil it. So pause, watch it, come back, and we're going to talk about Halloween. Halloween is a 1978 film, directed, written, scored by John Carpenter, the man, the myth, the legend. I'm a huge stan, so forewarning you there. It stars, I don't know if I would say stars Donald Pleasance, but he is in the film.
I mean,
More so stars Jamie Lee Curtis.
He was the big
Okay.
name at the time.
yes. Yeah, he was the marquee name.
Yeah. Stars Jamie Lee Curtis, Tony Moran, Donald Pleasance, Nancy Keys. Story of Michael Meyers, who, as a small child, kills his sister, Judith. And this is 15 years later. He escapes from a mental institution on Halloween Eve.
Hallows Eve.
And then Halloween night, he returns back to Haddonfield, Illinois, and kills again. Just becomes obsessed with that girl and that kid that looked into his house for some reason.
I think she was selling it she had to drop off keys
Yeah.
to sell it for her dad.
Yeah, her dad was a realtor.
But that was like the whole thing was like she looked in the house.
It's like the whole
and then
coincidence.
Mike
Right.
chose her.
Well, I think he reminded her of his sister and the boy of him, probably. If I had to make a guess.
I don't know how
See-
deep you guys want to get into the Halloween lore, or which track you want to go down, because the backstory has changed a little bit over time.
I was gonna say which way, because it changes every 2 movies. They decide to throw a new wrinkle that's something different.
If we're talking about the original 5, there's like a family relationship thing between them.
Yeah, she's like actually related to Michael.
Yeah.
That's stupid.
But I think
But
one
that
of
is
the,
like never told within the,
In
You
this
find out
first-
in like Halloween
2
4.
and 3.
that's
no, I think you
stupid.
find out in Halloween 2.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's at the literally towards the end of the second one that you find
Okay.
out. And it's like literally one of the last things you find out. I will say what's interesting though is without getting into Halloween, any of the numerous sequels, is the fact that he's focused on this girl and this kid. Even if you don't get into the psychological reasons of it, it's just one of those things that's kind of also haunting, is like he just sets his sights on this and goes. Like that's he picks a target and that's it.
He's determined.
Well, for most of the movie, like nothing really happens. He's just a fucking creep. And he's like driving
Yeah.
around town, stalking them, sitting behind the clothesline, or sitting behind a bush, and you're just kind of like, ugh. And you hear breathing. Oh my god,
Oh.
the breathing is so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Put that in.
Which I love that it's like they didn't make it clean. They made it sound like it's breathing through a shitty rubber Halloween mask.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I will say the movie has a 7.8 out of 10 on IMDb at the moment, and is widely regarded as one of the original slasher movies that gave way to any number of all the sequels obviously, but inspired many a movie after this.
One of the reasons this inspired so many too is the fact that the money they made versus the money spent to make this movie was insane. Like they paid Jamie Lee Curtis, what was it, like $25,000? That was like all they paid her to be in this movie or something. And the
It was
movie, it was $8.
$8,000, yeah.
Okay, maybe it was someone else that got offered more money. But yeah,
Maybe that lead guy.
they paid their who was their star actress
You know what they say.
$8,000, and this movie made a ton of money
Yeah.
for little to no budget. And
Stupid
other
money.
studios then saw that this independent film did it and went, "Hey, we could give someone little to no money and make a bunch of it at Halloween time." And that spawned just literally what became the horror genre of the 80s.
Slashers.
And that, kids, is how we
and
invented capitalism.
and the late 2000s. I've personally worked on some of those, you know.
We're talking about commercial successes.
Ah, yes. Okay, there you go. I have not worked on any of those. I mean, it's easy to look at movies like this. I think Paranormal Activity had a bigger budget. Blair Witch, where it's like we don't have to spend even $1 million, and we're gonna make hundreds of millions. Like,
Well, look at Friday the 13th, for example. I don't know if that's on our list. But I don't even think there's a big name star in that movie.
No.
It's literally they paid a bunch of no-name actors. They rented out the camp as a set
Like, go diddle each other for a bit.
and shot the movie with no budget, next to nothing, and then those movies, you release them at Halloween and people flock to go see them.
Yeah, people like getting scared for some reason.
This movie isn't even scary.
That's why Tyler
yeah,
Perry's
right.
It's not a
Medea's
scary movie.
Halloween made bank.
I'm just throwing it out there. I don't think this movie's scary at all. If you're
Cam's-
above the age of like 13.
Cam's one of those dude bros that, like, it's so uncool to be scared by a movie.
No. You misunderstand. Like when when I'm watching a movie like Get Out.
Have you seen Halloween 3 Season of the Witch?
Us?
That movie's fucking horrifying. That they made
movie's
that.
seen a
unrelated
ton of
to
these
any of the other
movies just
Halloween
'cause
movies.
It's
but
horrifying
It's
that
just
that
not-
movie was made.
It's just not my like thing. But when I'm watching movies like, you know, like I've said, like Us, Get Out, I don't know.
Cameron only names Jordan
two
Peele
Jordan
movies,
Peele movies.
complains that all
No.
other horror movies are bad.
I'm not saying all horror movies are bad. I'm saying this movie in particular, I don't think is scary. But no, I mean, maybe it is that it's like old, like kind of campy, really cheesy, like that just kind of like took me out of it. But I just didn't think it was like remotely scary at all. I
Yeah,
don't know.
slashers
That's
hit
just me.
hardest when you're a kid.
Right. I don't think this movie's that scary if you're above the age of like 12.
Big dick Cam out here.
Okay, maybe 14. I don't know. I'm just saying that like
Did you
I
watch it
can't
with the
imagine
lights
being
on?
scared. Like, if I was
Yeah,
a
you thought you
kid or
did.
like maybe a young teenager, I could imagine being scared of this movie. But I don't know.
I think the one of the most like iconic things to actually come out of this movie is the Halloween theme.
Oh, yeah.
As soon as you hear that, you know what it is. You know where you are
Illinois.
You're in Haddonfield.
with that like classic John Carpenter like synth score with like the like piano like dinking away.
Which is crazy that like he just basically sat down and I'm pretty sure that he was just fiddling around and liked the sound of like the piano noise and then built the rest of the theme around it. Just that do 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 do. Like just to play that on a piano and then score a movie. It's also bullshit that you can be that talented. Fucking write, direct, and then also just be like, you know what? I'm also gonna make the music too because you know I can. Fuck
Yeah.
you.
He doesn't even make movies anymore now. All he does is music.
Yeah, I know.
It's sad because half
His-
of his movies just bombed, but
Yeah,
You know,
the other half were
it
good.
do be like that. Cam, you already gave us like an initial, like you weren't scared. Do you have any more thoughts into the film and like a first impression after watching it?
Horror movies aren't really my thing. I don't know. That's just my takeaway, I think. I've already known that, and maybe some other ones will change my mind. Like maybe when we watch The Thing, which weirdly enough is cameoed in this movie before it was made into a movie. So that's kind of weird. But
It's the original.
The original.
oh, gotcha.
John
But-
Carpenter going back in time.
Back in time. Well, I don't know. I thought maybe like it was a reference, and then he was like, I want to make that movie. But yeah, I mean, I just, in my opinion, it's just kind of like a cheesy horror flick. It's not that good. I mean, it's fine. Like it's fine as a Halloween type movie if you're just looking to watch one. And it obviously inspired a lot of other movies, media, content. But as far as like on its own, I don't know. I wasn't that impressed, to be honest.
I was gonna say I always just find this movie more suspenseful than scary.
Yeah.
I just don't even like. You know what's gonna happen. I don't know. I feel like there's no surprises either. Like everybody dies except for the main character. basically.
Oh man, it's almost like you knew that happened because so many movies did that after this one.
I mean, no, I don't know. Like,
I mean, yes.
sure, there are
Curtis
also
is
other
the
movies
original
before
Scream
this
Queen.
one in which every character except for the main character dies. I mean, it's not like, I don't know. I have to judge it by today's standards. I can't go back in 1978 and like watch it with fresh eyes.
You could. Just like how John Carpenter went back in time and put the thing inside of Halloween.
That's not what I was implying happened, but that's fine too.
Was there any memorable quotes from the film that stuck out to you guys? Zach, I already know what you're going to say, so say it.
But there's
Tell-
like the "see anything you like" is like an iconic quote from this movie. Oh, is it not? I'm sorry, I thought it was. It's like "see
I
anything you
have,
like," just standing there talking to Michael Myers.
I wrote down the there's the scene when the three girls are all talking and they're like, yeah, the only reason she babysits is for a place to shit. No, I have a place for that. And then Michael's like speeds by in that car and they're like, hey jerk, speed kills.
There is a lot of foreshadowing in this movie, which is really interesting. Not only just in dialogue, but even in like subtleties. Like for example, in what's the main character's name? In Jamie Lee Curtis's character, whatever.
Lori.
Lori. I don't remember the exact name of the artist, but in her room, there is a picture of an artist in the background with the name clearly displayed. And if you look up that artist, this dude makes really creepy paintings. One of them is literally him with a bunch of masks. Like a self-portrait of him with like a bunch of masks floating around him, basically. So there's that. I have to let me look up the actual name so I can get it right.
I think is it the sheriff? I think the most like memorable quote from this movie, and I think it's also probably like the one most people remember, is "It's Halloween. Everyone's entitled to one good scare." Was that like the tagline? I feel like that should have been the tagline for this movie.
The one on the poster is like the night he came home, but
I don't know. That's just what I would have gone with.
I mean, Loomis isn't in the movie for very much, but he definitely steps in to deliver some real spooky dialogue.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so the artist I'm referring to is James Ensor. He was there's actually apparently a Reddit thread about this on Movie Details from 2 years ago. But if you look up James Ensor, there's basically paintings of like really creepy, and then like I said, at least one of them is in like these really disfigured masks around him. So there's that. There's also obvious ones like when people say, "Oh, I'm gonna be mauled by like the dog," speed kills. Or the one subtle one I appreciated was when they were in the car and they were listening to "Don't Fear the Reaper" by Blue Oyster Cult. I was like, okay.
another one that Loomis has is the he like gets like spooked and he pulls out the revolver. He's like, "Oh, you must think of me as a sinister doctor," and then he like realizes that he's with the sheriff and he's like, "Oh wait, I do have a permit for that." He like pulls it out to show him.
Another one, he's talking to the doctor, and he's trying to get him to search around. The doctor's like, or the cop's like, doctor, I think you're just kind of scared. And he's like, "Oh yeah, I am."
I just like when he's like, Loomis is talking with the other guy from the whatever psychiatric hospital, and he's like, "What? It's gonna take more than a little fancy talk to keep me up all night." And he's like, "I watched him for 15 years. I watched him just sitting, staring at a wall, waiting." Like,
Not looking at the wall, but looking through the wall.
yeah. Death has come to your little town, Sheriff. You can ignore it, or you can help me stop it.
Yeah, you're
We
telling me
definitely
that
should have done beer for the cocktail.
Yeah.
Because
good amount of
makes
beer,
sense.
some pull tab
I
beers.
can't think of what's her name. Is it no, not Annie.
Linda.
Linda. Yeah, Linda. She's like, "Give me a beer. Where's my beer? Beer, beer." I'm like, okay.
Well, you got my
This is
beer.
the Midwest, but calm yourself.
I will say I don't like how I mean, again, this is supposed to be a slasher movie, so it's not supposed to be too in depth. So maybe I'm reading into it too much, but in this movie, at least, like I don't know. To me, it feels like the character is not very, like, it's not interesting. The character, Michael Myers, is not an interesting character to me because they're just like, he's pure evil, which is like such an uninteresting motivation for me. It's like, okay, he's just like the essence of evil. Fine, whatever. Like, and like, I get you could analyze it, but it just seems to me like nobody, his doctor is just like, I just want to hunt this dude down and kill him. He's pure evil. I have no interest in anything else.
I mean, that's also kind of like, that was the thing in like the 70s and the 80s, because like, if you think of, I mean, I don't think you've seen them, but if you think of like Jason Voorhees or Freddy Krueger, they're the same thing. They're
Right.
like
Yeah.
undying, like monsters. They're pure evil. And also at that point in time in America, like you had all these like cult scares and basically the rise of like this like religious movement in America, and people were like really just afraid of like evil in the world.
I think the other thing was the fact that it was supposed to make it more. It was scarier, the fact that there was no reason behind what he was doing. He was just killing to kill for no.
Yeah.
There was no motive. It's one of those things where if there's a motive to it, then you lose. Part of the audience no longer finds it scary.
Yeah, to me, watching this,
If his motive is only to kill certain people, then I don't really give a shit anymore. But if he's killing everybody for no fucking reason, then oh shit, okay, then this just got a lot more real.
exactly, that was one of the things that always put Michael Myers scarier than Freddy Krueger to me, is because I could make the justification that my parents never knew Freddy Krueger, so it was no big deal. I was good. But Michael Myers was just out there slinging a blade, and he could just show up in my town, and that would be creepy.
Yeah, that was
That's
me
true.
with Jason. If I just never went to summer camp, I was safe.
Yeah.
But like Michael Myers, nah, he could just show up at any time for any reason, because why not?
Well, Jason does go to New York,
Shut up.
and Jason goes to New York.
I never
to
saw
space.
that one.
Yeah.
I
That's so weird.
Yeah, the Friday the 13th movies, and really the tail end of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies got rough. Real rough.
Halloween did too.
Halloween 1.
Yeah,
Halloween 1 is good. Halloween 2, I think, is pretty good.
Halloween 2's really good because it literally picks up
picks
right
up
where this
right
one
after.
leaves
It's
off.
really the Rocky
and
Balboa
kind
of the
of
slasher genre.
I think the worst, let's be honest, the worst one is the one where it's the cult one with the little girl who like consents him. That one's just
Season of the Witch, right?
the fifth one,
Oh, I know what
Yeah.
you're talking about.
where like at the
I
end
think it's
she's
the
in the
fifth
clown
one.
costume and she has the
Yeah,
scissors
that's
and
the
she's
fifth
one.
like taking over Michael. Yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
Sorry, we're gonna spoil the entire Halloween
That sounds
series
awful,
for
by the
everyone.
way.
It is.
All of that
It's
sounds
bad.
awful.
It's pretty bad.
You said the fifth one is the worst, but this is taking into account the common knowledge that Halloween 3 doesn't actually exist.
Halloween 3 has a huge cult following now, I will say. People are like accepting that it's like
I think you have to be in a
a
cult
thing
to like it.
and that it's
Here's the thing with Halloween 3 is I feel like if Halloween 3 would have actually been like Halloween 2, or if John Carpenter would have continued making it more of an anthology. So for Cameron, I don't know, and anyone else who might not be aware, when John Carpenter first did Halloween, it was supposed to be an anthology series of every like movie was supposed to be a different story. They weren't all supposed to follow Michael Myers. They were going to be different, like pretty much like telling a story around a campfire. So that's why Season of the Witch became like kind of the test of doing a different story. And people were like, I came to see Michael Myers in Halloween and this is not that. And so it was like hated by everyone. And then they went right back to Halloween with Michael Myers for number 4.
Well, to explain Halloween 3 to you, Cam, the plot of the movie is that there is a company that is making children's Halloween masks, and the kids will put on the mask, and then they like show this thing on the television while you're wearing the mask, and it like basically rots
Brainwashes
you,
you.
and like kills you, and like bugs will come out of you and shit. Yeah.
Wasn't one where like a mask
sounds
will make
awful.
you kill people too?
Maybe. I watched it like one time, and I was like,
I-
oh yeah, Halloween 3, and then I'm like, what is this?
Wait, this isn't what I wanted. Go back, go back, go back.
Was there iconic scenes for anyone?
I mean, like, I don't know. A lot of the stabbing scenes, I guess, were iconic. Thought it was weird how he stabbed a dude and he just like kind of stayed up on the door with no effort whatsoever. Like, but no, I think, or the scene like near the end where he's trying to get at Jamie Lee Curtis's character into like
Yeah,
the
the coat
closet.
hanger scene.
Like that one's also very
I think
And the Undertaker
that
like
up.
gets up behind her.
I think a lot of the scenes where it's just him like stalking, like behind the clothesline, or like she's looking in, like she sees him and then she turns around and it's just a bush. Like a lot of those things where it's just like him kind of in passing that have gone on. I just think those also became iconic because so many things have copied it
Yeah.
to use it, or have done it as like an obvious reference or an obvious punchline.
How does Mike Myers know how to drive a car?
There are
that's-
answers for that.
That's the one thing that I feel like a lot of people question.
There are answers in
It was
the
like
law.
what,
I'm
8
glad I'm
when
not
he
alone,
committed the
'cause
murders.
this-
So it's
From
like
the second he like attacks that woman, gets in the car and drives off successfully, I was like, how the fuck does he know how to drive a car?
I mean, it's not like it's a hard thing.
I'm not saying
like,
it's hard, but like, can you imagine like the first time you've ever driven a car? Like, you're just like, okay, this like it takes a time to adjust and like become natural, but the dude just like speeds off. Like,
He's
But he
Pretty
had
mellow.
forever.
100 miles to get used to it by the time he
Yeah.
got to Haddonfield.
I mean, Michael.
I'm surprised he
Of-
didn't crash by then.
of
Or crash
open-
into another vehicle.
But literally, the doctor says to Loomis, Haddonfield is 150 miles away. So he had, and then he says he can't even drive a car. And then Loomis says in a throwaway line, always explained by a throwaway line, he was
Always.
doing very well last night. Maybe someone around here gave him lessons.
I mean, he's a man possessed. He's
Weird.
clearly built different than
I
most
didn't
people.
catch that line though. That's interesting.
And
he did say
and
that.
and behind that boy's eyes was purely and simply evil.
Behind that boy's eyes was a driver's manual.
This dude was playing Grand Theft Auto at the
That's why he committed all the murders. You've explained it. Violent video
We
games.
solved the murders.
solved
It's
it.
actually video games. Wrap it up, everybody. We got
It is explained
go
in
home.
Halloween H2O how he learned how to drive.
H2O.
Yep, that's one of the sequels.
Yes.
Halloween H2O.
It's H20.
It's H20.
It's
but
H2O.
It does come out as H2O.
H2O.
Yes, that is.
That's weird.
Is that
For
the one
me,
with,
I think one of
is that the
the
one
one of
with
the
Busta
memorable
Rhymes?
scenes.
Busta Rhymes, yeah, I think he's in it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like some rapper. Yeah,
I think it's Busta.
Hey, you put some respect on Busta Rhymes' name.
yeah.
He's not just
that
some
one
rapper.
song that he did.
The really
that
fast
everyone
one.
knows. Yeah.
Every Busta Rhymes song.
No, it's LL Cool J. You racist fucks.
Oh, I thought it was Busta
What?
Rhymes.
No, it's
Is it
not.
really?
It's Busta Rhymes.
I'm looking at the cast of Halloween
LL
H20.
Cool J was on that ABC show. That's what you're thinking of.
Busta Rhymes is known in the Halloween series as Freddy. Oh, he was in Resurrection.
Whoops.
Not H20.
Yeah.
Different movie.
That was that. I think that was the one where they like go to the Meyers house and they put all the cameras up. And
Yeah,
it's
it's
like,
like it's supposed to be like
That
a,
one was bad.
reality TV series.
That
Yeah.
one was
And they're all
real
living
bad.
in the house, and then he shows up and rip.
the memorable scene I think for me is when after he kills that guy and like hangs him up on the closet that Cam was talking about. He comes back to Linda, and he's got that like sheet on him with the glasses on the outside.
Where's my beer?
Just that like him standing in the doorway with the sheet on is something that's always just like stuck out to me.
That trickster Michael Myers.
Dude loves to have a
Such a
good time.
goof.
What a rascal.
He's just a teen pranking on Halloween. was there an oh shit moment?
Murders.
I think
I mean,
when,
yes.
When Loomis.
But again, I didn't think it was very surprising. I guess the one thing I did think was surprising was how long he waited to kill a lot of the people. Like he kind of just watched them for like a really long time before actually killing them, which was a little bit surprising to me.
I was gonna say, in terms of holy shit moments, is when Loomis like shoots him and he falls out the window. And you're like, oh, thank God it's over. And then you kind of go to the window and you look down and he's gone.
Why won't he die?
Because it's a movie.
Oh, you have to wait till like Halloween 6 for that reason.
Well, they
And
kind
it
of talk about it in
explains
4 and 5.
What's the reason? I'm
He's
curious
so
how they explain it.
he's so evil that hell just sends him back. Isn't that one of them?
It's a prophecy. Yeah, it's called Thorn. He's got to. That's when you get the family relation. He's got to satisfy his prophecy of killing Laurie.
Classic. So it's like Jason, because Jason goes to hell in one of the Friday the 13th, and then comes
After
back.
he goes to or before he goes to New York, or after he
Yeah.
goes to New York.
He
goes to New York in the third one.
I think no. New York is like
I'm
sorry.
7 or
That's-
something, dude.
that-
That's
these
like way
franchises sound
stupid.
so
The one that
stupid.
he comes back from hell is that the one where like
The
his,
premise
like,
is so
it's like a
dumb.
weird
It's so dumb.
brain and then brainstem thing
Yeah,
jumps out of his
Like-
body and moves around.
I thought that was
Yes.
an alien, but yeah.
they literally
that's-
fucking destroy his body, and then he comes
Yeah.
back.
Yeah, he comes back as literally like a brain. He
gets hit by lightning or something.
Crawls around. It's weird.
No, I'm saying when I
think
was a
that's-
kid, I thought it was an alien. I was like, oh, Jason's an alien.
I think New York, he gets struck by lightning or some shit, and then comes
Yeah,
back.
I don't know.
There is no logic once you get to number 9 in a series. Let's be honest.
I mean, the
Yeah,
logic
Star
is
Wars.
let's put $75K into this movie because that's all we need to, and we're gonna make 25-30 million out of it every single Halloween.
You'd think the logic would just be to stop giving backstory, right?
That's kind of what they did.
No one cares. Just get to the point where they kill people.
That's
that's how Friday the
The late
13th
ones
one
are
is.
kind of like that. It's like, hey, so it's like the first 15 minutes of the movie, we're just gonna kill some random kid who's strolling down the street. All right, we're about 25 minutes in. Somebody's having sex. We see some titties. There's a stalker. He's kind
butcher
of
knife.
close.
That's all
All
I
right,
know.
35 minutes in. Oh, here's some more titties. Oh, but those guys are dead now. Oh shit. Now 45 minutes in, we actually see the guy, and people have seen him, so now we're scared. So.
Coming soon to a theater near you. Written by the guys from Who Brought You Cocktails and Classics. It is generic scary movie.
Now with more tits.
Now with more titties.
And less details, not because it's easier to write, but because we leave it up to your imagination, so it's scarier.
But
We know
also
what
the
you
whole
want.
but also the whole easier to write thing.
We're gonna give you the
Also,
good
we're
stuff.
lazy. But only the good stuff. None of that filler shit.
It's gonna be like Friday the 13th 3D.
4D. We could put the smell-o-vision in there.
No, I don't want that.
That movie would
Keep that.
smell awful.
That movie would smell like a teenage camp counselor cabin.
I was gonna say a gym bag, but
It would
That's
smell
also
like
awful.
pretty
Axe-
similar
Those
It would,
things are
it
awful.
would smell like Axe body spray. Get it? It's funny on 2 levels because the
yeah.
shitty body spray, but also
Axe.
Axe murder.
And my axe.
See what I did there?
boo.
Feel free to like us on Twitter at Cocktails and Classics.
Well, if you enjoyed this episode, we're done.
We're not even doing reviews now. Game over.
Yeah, we should just call it.
So this week's podcast is brought to you by Surfside Sips. They make high-impact glass straws. They're a family-owned company, and what's better than saving the turds? You know.
The turds.
The turds.
You know, I'm one of those people who hates using paper straws. Paper straws fucking
Paper straws suck.
I
They are the
love
worst
what
solution.
they do. I love that we're minimizing the use of plastic straws. I enjoy that. Paper straws suck ass.
They suck. They are the worst possible solution because turns out, guess what? Paper and water don't fucking mix, okay? I don't know who came up with it, but it doesn't work. Even though they put coating on it to try and help, it doesn't work. It just gets soggy and you end up throwing it away anyway, and that's just more waste. And so,
But you know what doesn't get soggy? Glass.
yeah.
Glass straws from Surfside Sips. And if you want to get some glass straws from Surfside Sips, you can use coupon code cocktails and classics spelled out. That's cocktails and classics for 20% off your order.
And if you're looking for a business to support during this time, seems like a good idea. Today's episode is brought to you by Audible. Audible is the leading provider of spoken word entertainment and audiobooks. ranging from bestsellers to celebrity memoirs, news, business, and self-development. But essentially what it is every month you get one credit to pick any title plus 2 Audible originals from their monthly selection. So, Dylan and Zach, what are your experiences with Audible?
So, working from home nowadays, I recently used Audible to rip through one of my favorite book series. It's always great to go back and revisit some of your favorites.
And since we've recently done From Russia with Love, you could check out some of Ian Fleming's books on Audible. They have Dan Stevens, Toby Stevens, Damian Lewis, many great narrators. Read through Diamonds Are Forever, From Russia with Love, Live and Let Die. So maybe you want to get into the James Bond novels as well as the movies.
To start your free 30-day trial, go to audibletrial.com/cocktails and classics, all lowercase. Again, that's audible.com/cocktails, AND classics. After your free trial is up, it costs $14.95 per month. However, there are no commitments, and if you can't decide what to listen to, that's okay. You can roll your credits over up to 1 year.
This is about the time that Zach takes over and gives us a little trivia quiz. So, Zach, take it away.
Thanks, guys. We will jump right into the first question. Very excited about this one. So, in this film, this is the second time that Adam Sandler and Julie Bowen have starred together. The first time being which movie? A, Billy Madison, B, Happy Gilmore, or C, The Longest Yard?
Wait, hold on.
Oh, I'm sorry.
you
I'm
repeat
sorry.
that?
Is this Hubie Halloween?
This is my Hubie Halloween trivia. My bad.
Oh, shut up.
I'm on the wrong.
God damn it. I was
the
like,
wrong
fucking
trivia.
wait, Adam Sandler? What the fuck? Come on.
I knew it was gonna.
Do you guys know the answer?
Hold on, can you repeat the question?
It was Happy Gilmore. It's all right.
I was going to say that. Come on.
I was too, because wasn't she the reporter?
Vanessa, yeah. No. So question number 1. The stabbing sound effect was created by stabbing a large chef's knife into what object? A watermelon,
Dylan's heart.
B, a teddy bear, or C, a pork shoulder?
I feel like a teddy bear wouldn't make anything. I'm going to say a pork shoulder just because that sounds the most, like, close to... That seems like it'd be the closest thing to flesh. Stabbing flesh. So I'm going to say C.
Is that from experience?
I think
Yeah. Gotta make a lot of sound effects, you know?
yeah. Cam
And I
the
just
Foley
love
artist.
stabbing pork shoulders. It's a good hobby.
It does seem like a good way to take out stress. And with
Yeah.
that, I
Mhm.
think
And practice.
they took out their stress with a watermelon. I think they did a watermelon for the stabbing sound effects.
I was gonna go with Dylan. I'm gonna say the watermelon. Really Gallagher-esque. You know, they're just sitting there
Just smash.
stabbing the hell out of them. I think it was cheaper.
It's a
You could buy a
stabbing sound
shit
effect?
ton.
Why are you smashing it with a mallet?
I think you could just buy a shit ton more watermelons for cheap, and with how low this budget of the movie was, they just stabbed a bunch of watermelons.
Watermelon is the correct answer.
Dang.
So we've got Ben and Dylan tied at a point. Question number 2. According to the credits, who is the music for Halloween performed by? Is it A, John Carpenter, B, Michael Myers, or C, the Bowling Green Philharmonic Orchestra?
Ooh, I don't know if
According to the credits.
I don't know if my college alma mater would allow me to say Bowling Green, being somewhat of rivals. Some of that Maction.
that Mac Nation.
You know,
Let's go.
I think
Tuesday
I
Night
kind of
Football's
want to
coming
go
back.
for C on this because I feel like it'd just be a giant joke because it's literally just like one piano or whatever. So I'm going to say C, actually.
I should have watched the credits.
It is the very last thing in the credits, by the way.
Ah,
So if you
damn it.
you had to stick around to the very end.
I'm gonna go with Michael Myers. Don't know why. Maybe it was a May at the end of the movie.
I'm gonna say it was the Bowling Green Philharmonic Orchestra, but it's not Bowling Green, Ohio. It's Bowling Green, Kentucky.
So, the music was actually done by John Carpenter, And he put in there the Bowling Green Philharmonic Orchestra, sort of as a meme, kind of like Ben said, not the Bowling Green, Ohio.
Yeah, he's from Kentucky or something, right?
Yeah, I
believe
think
so.
Okay.
I think he's actually from Bowling Green, Kentucky.
What? Crazy. That crazy John Carpenter.
He's such a crazy and kooky guy.
Cool. So we've got Ben in the lead with 2 points. Cameron and Dylan are each tied with a point. So, question number 3. Before finally deciding on the Captain Kirk mask, which of the following masks was not considered? A. Richard Nixon, B. Spock, or C. Dick Van Dyke?
Dick Van Dyke would have been kind of fucking freaky.
Cam's like, you replace Captain Kirk with Dick Van Dyke, and I gotta watch it with the lights on now.
Yeah.
This movie went from 0 to pissing my pants real quick.
I think the mask is scary. I think they did a good job with that part. Like, I think that, yeah, they, like, the cheap Captain Kirk mask is fucking creepy. I'm going to say Nixon for my answer, by the way. I'm going to say B, Nixon. I feel like it's really way too close to, like, Watergate and stuff, and that would have really detracted from the movie.
I was also going to say Nixon, but not for that reason. I think Nixon, even a blank Nixon mask would be way too recognizable to be like this figure that's supposed to just be what they call the shape. If it's obviously looking like Richard Nixon, it would very much like make it super obvious and take away from the blank
Well,
stare.
now I want to pick a different answer.
Go ahead.
I'm just kidding. I think that's the right answer, so I'm sticking to it, even if I lose.
I mean, I was also gonna say Nixon, but just to play the game, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna say Dick Van Dyke.
Well, sometimes you play the game and lose, and sometimes you play the game and you are rewarded. The answer was Dick Van Dyke. Both a
Wow.
Richard Nixon mask and a Spock mask were in like decently heavy consideration as the Michael Myers mask.
I knew the
Nixon
Spock
would have been
one.
an awful choice.
I knew
Yeah.
the
That
Spock
would have
one
been terrible.
too, but
The Spock one would have been so weird with like the pointy ears.
I mean,
Yeah.
they could have just trimmed the ears on it, but it also would have been a good like blank. Dick Van Dyke, I'm surprised. I'm surprised they even have a mask of Dick Van Dyke, which should have been a giveaway.
Yeah, maybe that
Jimmy
was
Fallon
probably
masks.
why. I just feel like, I feel like
awesome,
Nixon would have
awesome.
been awful. Like, you would have definitely been able to tell that it's Nixon.
All right, so the tiebreaker. Ben and Dylan are tied at 2 points, so I'll give it over to them. Closest without going over. What was Donald Pleasant's salary for the film?
Oh,
I would like the units to be rubles.
today's dollars.
In didgeridoos.
Oh, you want another inflation question?
With
No.
with
No.
inflation. No, please, God, no. This is season 2. There's no inflation questions in season 2.
Pass? Pass?
Also, Deborah Hill definitely won out in this movie in terms of a payday. She worked for free and exchange got points. Great job there.
Smart move.
Points are good.
Always get
Never go
points.
for a percentage of profit though.
No.
Because Hollywood accounting is bullshit.
Yep.
No. Go for
They
points.
fuck your ass there.
Yup.
Always go points.
We've never made a profit.
Oh wait, your $1 billion movies never made a profit? Okay, cool.
No, I pushed it off into future years, so I only had to pay $750 to this actress this year.
Oof. Timely, but oof. All right, Ben,
Who,
you got
me?
an answer?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right. I think she made 28,500. Or Donald Pleasant, sorry, not the
She?
$28,500.
I put $20,000.
So the original budget of the movie was $300,000, and they had to up it to account for Donald Pleasant's salary. Final budget of the movie came out to $325,000. So Ben takes home a win.
Dang, Ben did know he did have the $25,000 earlier.
He did. That was just for
I
Donald
had it-
Pleasant's.
I had it earlier, but I wasn't sure when we said it, and I thought Zach said that was Donald Pleasance, and then he said Jamie Lee Curtis only made 8, and I was like, oh shit. So I was gonna put like 24,999, but I figured I'd just go low at 20.
You guys got to listen to the
was-
podcast. I gave you the answer.
Which yeah, I know.
I was thinking it was the 25, but then I was like, well, maybe he actually got paid a little bit more, and that was it bit me in the ass. Damn it! I almost went for the twofer.
I am the Spooktober current champion.
So we're at that point of the episode where those of us who have seen it, we wrote down our ratings based off memory and nostalgia. And now I want to know if your ratings are changed or not. So season 2, Cam goes first.
Here's the thing. When we going into this like part of the season, I'm afraid of these movies, not because I'm fearful of them, but because I don't really like this genre that much. There are notable exceptions of recent movies I've seen, especially if it was directed by Jordan Peele. But more so just because the only reason I saw, like, I don't know, it's similar with like plays. I think, like, I don't like musicals, but if there's a play that's good that happens to be a musical, I'll enjoy it. But I don't like it for the sake of it being a musical. So if there's a good horror movie, if it's a good movie, I'll like it, but not because it's a horror movie, because it's a good movie. So I just didn't think this was that good of a movie. Like, it was very cheesy. It wasn't that scary. I wasn't like held in suspense that much, to be honest. And maybe that's just because I knew it was going to happen based on, pop culture, whatever you want to call it. The movie basically met my expectation for what was going to happen most of the time. Which isn't just that entertaining of a movie to me. So I'm going to give it a 5. I thought it was all right. If you like Halloween movies and you like, I don't know, older, maybe some campy or cheesy movie, and you're just looking for something to watch on Halloween, give it a whirl. But I think if you're looking for like a good movie in particular, I wouldn't really watch it.
I'm a huge fan of horror. It's one of my favorite genres, honestly. I think it's really hard to do. Much like comedy, I think it's hard to do well. I love John Carpenter. Love this movie. I think I watch him most Halloweens. It just kind of like is one to set you in the mood. You got that like fall Midwestern town and a small town, just kind of like get you jimmies rustled. Michael Myers scared me a lot as a kid. I remember watching like Halloween 5 or 4 or something, just catching it on like AMC's like 30 Days of Halloween or something. And, he's a scary dude. As an adult, I don't think these movies are necessarily scary, not necessarily creepy. I do think they're really well done. John Carpenter's score is amazing. The acting is what it is. I mean, it's inspired a lot, and it's not like a fantastic acting, but I do think this is like a great slasher and one that holds a special place in my heart. So going in, I gave it a 9, and I think I'm gonna leave it there. I love this movie.
I think this month in general is going to be different for ranking movies, because horror movies, genuinely, people that love them and rank them do not rank them based on like production value, or like, it's just not what horror movies are generally ranked on, right? I mean, just even like reading reviews of the movie, that like of the reviews I read, after rewatching it, a lot of them, it's not really talked about the acting or this or that or the other thing, because it's not important to this type of genre. So I guess with that.
No, I agree. I can see where you're coming from there. Yeah.
I mean, you have the people who watch these movies to like, sometimes you want the character to like be a shithead, so like the sadistic people.
So you don't feel as bad.
Yeah, when they die. Like if it was somebody who was like, oh my god, there's like a nun who's given all she's got to this small child, then she like dies, and you just be like, what the fuck, dude? Like that sucks.
Man, she made all the right decisions. She managed to save the kid, but the killer still like it still got her. I don't even know how, but it did. Now I just feel shitty about life. That's what real life is for. I don't want that in a movie. I am not a horror movie person at all. I'm just not really a big fan. This movie, growing up, the concept of Michael Myers terrified me, but I never really watched the movie. I actually didn't watch this movie until after I watched on AMC. They had like a documentary about the making of it. So watching it for the first time, like, wasn't like, a super scary movie because I guess the curtain was already peeled back. That being said, I really enjoy this. As a person who doesn't like horror, I find this movie to be a lot more like of a suspenseful type movie, and there's not a lot of jump scares. I like the fact that it's not just gory for the sake of being gory. Going into this, I'd given it a 7 out of 10. Rewatching it, I just think, yes, is it kind of campy? Yes, but I think that's just because it's dated. You've seen probably also so many things that this movie did because it was the first. And that makes it really hard to rate movies like this after 40 years because you've seen it all done already and possibly done better. But yeah, the acting's not great, but I still think it's a good movie. So I left it at a 7 out of 10. It's not a great movie, but it's definitely, like, to me, it's one of those movies that you watch to get in the mood, like Dylan said, for Halloween.
I'll start by saying horror is a genre that doesn't get bled into. Like, there are rom-coms, which are blends between like a comedy and a drama. You can get things like that, but movies don't usually have a scary part and then go back to a love story. So, like, I think that is like a huge defining factor, especially in the slasher kind of genre, even though it wasn't a genre when Halloween came out yet. Subgenre. I think that's one of the huge distinguishing factors, and it probably led to a bunch of low budget horror. Which I think the like 95% of horror movies out there are like low budget, kind of let's see if we can make a quick buck. But then there's other movies like Halloween that really do something. Like there's some stuff that came out of this movie that's so iconic, like the mask, the song, the teenagers fooling around and get killed. That all this stuff was done like dozens and dozens of times after. It's a movie that I've watched over and over again because I really enjoy it. There is stuff that I don't think is great. Some of the acting isn't phenomenal, and I do think some of the scenes go on a little too long. Like there's some really awkward stares in the movie that I don't think we need. Maybe cut 3-4 seconds out of that. But going into it, I gave this movie a 7 out of 10, and I'm gonna leave it there. In terms of all-time great movies, it definitely defined a genre. In terms of horror movies, it's a must-watch. I think in terms of movies in general, it's a must-watch because it really represents what happened in this space for the next 30, 40 years.
So if you enjoyed this, don't forget to rate and subscribe, and check us out on Instagram at Cocktails and Classics Pod, and use the hashtag Cocktails and Classics to send us your movie and drink recommendations. Share us with your friends, and as always, watch responsibly.